Hello once again, YouTube friends. It's been a while. I'm going to chime in with other noble YouTubers that are putting out content that is of significance and importance to me. I must say I appreciate, and it's a shout out to people that are producing valuable, giving me their valuable insights about the circumstances they believe we're in, even to some extent people that I have reservations about, because from where I'm sitting there is a blind spot possibly. Their heart's in the right place. I would like to feel that way. Somebody like, for example, Corbett Report, or even Cliff High, who I'm uh, Cliff High 90% I dislike, but there are always bits and pieces that appear to be of interest and significance to me, and some insight. But okay, here's what I was thinking about reflecting on today. How do I know things are as bad as they are without actually being directly exposed to a bad situation? Meaning that I come to the studio, I make my work, I make my paintings over the last year, since this COVID lie has been propagated on the entire planet, on everybody living on Earth is now subjected to the directives from Mount Olympus that have absolutely no bearing in reality. The claims that are being made are not happening in my life. And most people that I know, that I talk to, that are willing to talk to me about this, have to admit, even though they comply, that they say, no, none of the things that are being reported I am actually experiencing. So yes, the COVID shit, bullshit is a lie. It is propagated by some very nasty, nefarious bunch out there. And there are many, many great YouTubers who expose these people. I don't need to do that today. But how do I know it's as bad as it is? And I'm thinking, I wasn't there, but in Nazi Germany, when Hitler came into power, you could probably apply this to Stalin as well. They created circumstances for the population to, or involve the population in their story, their narrative. They had to create a story, a narrative that would obviously, a level of fear was part of this. It was very important. And if we thought, like somebody I listened to, like Matt from Quantum of Conscience, was doing a fabulous dissertation on the beer virus, and saying that 9/11 was sort of the ugly duckling precursor to what we're experiencing now, because 9/11 is like those nasty terrorists that never really affected anyone, really never affected anyone, in terms of experiencing the threat of death from a person that had brown skin and wore funny hats and all that kind of stuff. Was just like, for most people, it was just, again, it was a propaganda that they had no experience themselves. But no, you believe it. But this is now escalated to a level, and this is what I'm saying, Nazi Germany, we are in 1935 Nazi Germany, where literally, now it's even more so than that, because I see the masking of people, where 99 out of 100, I went shopping, not a single person didn't have a mask on, are complying with the narrative, are terrified. The reason I know things are really bad, even though my life may not be horrible, terrible, awful yet, is that everybody that I am coming across believes the narrative, believes the story, for whatever reason they have. And in their personal lives, nothing has really changed, other than the fact that the directives they have to follow have fundamentally changed their existence on a most profound level, in terms of making a living, in terms of earning a living. People are losing their incomes, and here in Canada, they're being bribed because they're given $2,000 a month for the last year now, in order to bribe them to go along with the story, which is setting up another situation, I think, for universal income, which will have kind of like a communist party existence where everybody is equal. Doctors, plumbers, ditch diggers, street people are all on a universal income. Everybody makes the same. This is what the precursor is, universal income. It's an incredible danger in terms of people freely interacting and using their ingenuity and their intelligence to provide a service, to have initiative, to want to do something. Well, that'll all be rubbed out with universal income. So the reason I know things are really bad is by how people are clamoring to put the star of David on their clothes, which is the mask, how people are embracing the idea of a mask, and the resistance to this newfound, I'm going to say it's a newfound strategy, although I believe it's been implemented over hundreds of years and probably even longer, to condition the population to do exactly what a small portion of the population, the oligarchs, the owners, these hyenas that gather and extract the soul and heart out of humanity. This is part of the sort of ritualistic strategy. That it's a strategy of ritual to destroy the spirit and the thing in us that makes us want to get up in the morning is being systematically extracted from us. And it really is bad now, because I see people are going along with it, and I think it's getting worse, not better. And all the vaccine stuff, and you can go, okay, I'm not going to get into this, how the logic behind it falls apart completely. So we're dealing with a situation that now has suspended reason, and that sort of sense of our humanity has been put aside. Whatever there is left in a human being to resist the thing that is worse for us is now put aside, and we embrace the thing that is the worst of the worst, like in 1935, Nazi Germany, the censorship, the health directives that was placed on the population, and the population embraced it because you can say they were terribly afraid. The fear level of being attacked by an enemy, where in this case, an invisible enemy that has no actual identifier. This invisible enemy hasn't even been isolated in a lab, this supposed beer virus, and the test that supposedly is going to identify you for being one of these nasty people that is a threat to everyone. This test is absolutely useless, the PCR test admitted to. And I came across, there is some optimism for me. There is a lawyer in Germany who's organizing a lot of other lawyers. His name is Rainer Föhmich, which is an interesting word. Föhmich means, if you translate it sort of roughly, it says, fill me up, Föhmich, F-E or F-U-E-L-L-M-I-C-H, Föhmich. Now, I'm pushing it a little bit, but it literally, I like the name because he says, Föhmich, yeah, fill me up. Anyway, he has organized a class action, or he is he's at this point in some stage towards bringing a class action lawsuit against the bastards, the political leaders who are implementing all these directives, these oppressive directives. I'll attach a link to the guy's video where he explains what he's going to do. So there is a level of optimism that I feel. Still, there are people that are not willing just to stick the star on their lapel, on their arm, on their sleeve. They're not going to be identified as easily as 99 out of 100 people is willing to just go into that good night. And here's what I feel about it. It's kind of like, what right do I have to tell anybody what to do? Here's how, when I think about this, how I feel about this. And that is, I've talked about this before, that my sense of existence comes along with a responsibility. Some religions refer to it as loosely it's referred to as karma, that things come back at you. What you put out comes back at you. But I don't even want to go into that sort of, there is a justice out there. I think it's even more primal than, oh, if I don't do the right thing, I'm going to be hammered. No, I think there is this, there is an even more immediate situation in our humanity that doesn't say, oh, if I don't do the right thing, I'll get hammered. That says, I want to do the right thing. It's not connected to any kind of punishment or reward. It's something that we feel within ourselves that is there. I often refer to it as a conscience, which is something that comes without any explanation. Most people that discuss anything on YouTube, really, they would agree with me, but never invoke or talk about this, because this is something in our nature that is outside of all impositions, outside of all natural laws, unnatural laws. It's just something that is part of a human being that is, I'll call a human being with a conscience, a balanced human being, somebody that is capable of having a degree of feeling and response and sympathy and empathy and all those good things, the kindness. But even more than that, there is this feeling of wanting to do the right thing just because it's there. I don't know. It's there. It's part of our humanity. And this is something that is now so under threat with this recognition that each person has, and we can excuse it away. We can make loads of excuses, and religions are really excellent at this, is because they say, well, you know what? If you confess before you die to all your sins, you're fucking A. You're gonna go into the right. You're gonna go into eternity the right way. This is, and I have a suspicion that it doesn't work that way. So suspend your conscience all your life, but then confess and say, oh, to my confessor, oh, I have sinned. I have suspended my conscience for 80 years. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, hallelujah, brother, go into eternity. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There is a responsibility that each human being has a birthright, and part of that birthright, I say, is the ability, the desire, the need to do the right thing. And if we don't understand entirely all the consequences and the complexity in an action, we're willing to learn and to proceed along that path. That's sort of how I'm looking at this. And the COVID lie, this beer virus bullshit, is basically implemented to extract that last vestige that kept us from going over the cliff. That's how I see it now. With the incredible compliance, and I know things are as bad as they are based on what I see around me. I don't see any wagons with dead bodies on it. What the news tells us and what we experience in our day-to-day life does not jive. But people don't seem to be able to conjure that sort of rationale and say, well, this doesn't appear to be true. Even why not just stick your finger in the water and to see whether it's not too cold or not too hot to go into it. This isn't even part of the desire in people to test the water. How bad is it? So if I say how bad is it now, and my reference to Nazi Germany, 1935, we have a period of time when Hitler and his goons solidified their hold on people by bringing in outrageous mandates, not just health mandates. The idea, the eugenicists were front and center on this whole Nazi agenda of getting rid of the unwanted people. There's like a whole bunch of unwanted people. This is something happening through what Corbett talked about brilliantly, I thought, today. Bioethics is an excuse to get rid of the unwanted among us. They say among us. No, it's among them. It's not among me. So isn't it curious that we are always the culprits? We are the unwanted. We are the untouchables. the people who are responsible for the damage that is being caused worldwide. No, no, it's never us. It's always them. It's the finger is always pointing at someone else. This is why it's very, very dangerous to point our finger at anybody, because, as they say, three are coming back at ourselves. But this is not of interest. Any of this kind of reasoning and understanding and the conscience that a person applies to their life is not of interest to the people that are responsible for creating these outrageous mandates. And I really feel that we're in this sort of level of 1935 Nazi Germany, just before Kristallnacht, the night they burned the synagogues and the books and anything that would reflect badly on the owners, the way they wanted to run the thing. And how bad is it? How bad is it? How do I know it's really bad? Is because once again, even though I wasn't there in 1935 when they stuck the stars on people's clothes to identify them, now people are willingly taking the star in the form of the mask and putting it on their face. And all the evidence is there. All the doctors, the medical professionals, the people who understand our viruses, so-called viruses. I'm not even going to argue there, but even on a bogus theory, infectious germ theory, let's say it's true, and the people that are involved in it that are committed to understanding it to the best of their ability and their conscience is in place, they're saying this is a bunch of hooey. The way we are being affected by this, by this supposed dangerous virus, is 99.97 recovery rate. And the sick people don't even need medication. They're not even requiring to go to the hospital. If you're sick with this, you're not even requiring to go anywhere. The hospitals are not full the way they say. So when you look at something where a healthy person now is a threat, and healthy people needing to wear masks, and the worst part of it, this is the worst part. This has been pointed out by many people already that understand this, is that to put a mask on your child is what I've been saying about parents abusing their children, just abdicating their responsibility to look at the circumstances and not say there is a higher authority out there who knows best. No, you as a parent know best if your heart is in the right place, and you would know that putting a mask on a child is child abuse. Just the same way when you send them to school on my street at -20 centigrade or -20, like really cold at 7:30 in the morning, children, young kids, 8, 9, 10, 11, are walking to school. It's out bloody rages. Oh, tough love. No, you gotta, okay, fine. You may have a day or two where you do this, but on an ongoing basis, it suggests to me abuse. Okay, yeah, that's what it says. So, and the abuser will end up abusing. That's generally, it doesn't mean they all do, but it means that a large portion of the abused people are now the owners running the show, because they were all abused. They were abused children. The Kissingers, the Bushes, these never felt any love. They were unloved. They are loveless and they're unloved, which is why they can say whatever the hell they want, but they're still loved, unloved, loveless people, and are perpetrating the unloved part of their life on everyone else. And it gets even worse when you get into the elements of abuse on a level of the indulgences that are now being considered to be part of culture. If you look at art, the degenerates that are producing the art that is supposedly valuable to us, this has disintegrated to such an extent. I've said all along that civilization and culture, as far as I'm concerned, they are the most egregious contributors to our present situation. People say, well, how can you throw out the baby with the bath? That's a stupid. I hate that expression. But they use this. How can you throw it out? You know, a good thing with a bad thing, you throw it out. No, what we need to do. Okay, here is my theory of recovery. There obviously have been advances in the human condition from the point of view that there are certain benefits that we have had over time from what might be considered industrial technological advances. The greatest benefit that I believe that has come from this is given me the time to be the person that I want to be. In other words, I am not struggling like my grandparents were struggling to stay alive on a day-to-day basis. There is a level of the division of labor, the way it is now, has been evolved and developing. There are certain benefits that I acknowledge that have happened because of social agreements, the agreements of exchanges, but that is all being attacked as well. The idea of monetary exchanges for efforts that we make. If I produce a sausage, somebody else gets a bag of potatoes, and we have an exchange like the old days. Yeah, this is we have streamlined this exchange. I find this quite valuable. I think this is something worth keeping if we can do it. However, when we look at ourselves and we think of ourselves as being so incredibly advanced, and then we have situations like Epstein, or I don't know, the litany of transgressions is so egregious, and it is so absolutely horrendous when you look at it, the drones, the military complex, the wars, all this kind of stuff, okay? It's all part of civilization. This is like, well, you have to embrace all of it. You can't just sort of get rid of it and hope to keep some of it. Well, if that's the case, so be it. Throw it over the edge. I would say put it on the edge of a cliff and throw civilization and culture right off the edge, and I'll take my chances with honest human beings that are willing to do the right thing. This is how I look at it. And if I have to wear wood shoes and live in a mud hut, then so be it. That's how I look at it. So what I'm trying to say is, as long as we attach ourselves to the worst part of us and not look for the better part in us and say, well, we still need the bad part in order to be able to do the good part, well, I don't think that is a balanced approach to the circumstances that we're in. And it is really bad. Like I said, I feel it's really bad from the point of view that people are now willingly, I use the metaphor of the Star of David that was pinned on Jews, the degenerates, the unwanteds, now has become a voluntary, it has reared its ugly head again as a voluntary action to wear a mask. That's why I think it's really bad. I think it's really bad. And this is not going to end in a good way. There is, like I said, optimism. I'll attach this lawyer's presentation of a class action lawsuit. I'm not sure if the justice system, the unjust system, can still revitalize our hope for a better future, because this is all so integrated. The way we have devolved in our social structure to the point where, like a friend of mine says always, money is the root of all evil. Well, I don't entirely agree with that, but the way it's being used as bribery and as incentives for people to excuse themselves for doing the things that they should be doing, this is all infiltrated into a system. And to say, well, we can rely on the courts to set this ship right is very suspect to me. I'd like them to do all they can, these lawyers, in order to at least attempt this. But what is required is a personal change. It's a revolution within each person on some level, even in the smallest possible way. I would even say for a person, and I have people in my immediate surrounding and family that I say this to, it's like as resistant as they are to creating a contrary position to the official line, at least give it that mental energy that says, yes, this is happening. Even just to say that, that's very important, I think. Just to admit to yourself, yeah, yes, this is happening. This is a very important step and will create the transformation that will happen. This, if everybody would do this on a building level, there would be an inevitable consequence to that admission. And whether you have an advocacy where you have to expose the bastards, like if I make videos and I talk about directly about things that comply with my own inner feeling of this is really bad, what does it ask me to do? So, you know, I make paintings that are related to this inner conviction that reflect to the time that I live in. This is art, always has been. The art that has inspired me, the art of the past, has always reflected in some form or other the most significant, important aspect of the time that these people, artists, painters, generally speaking, painters, lived in. It seems to be more able to be done with painting rather than music, although music reflects something in certain ways much higher in terms of our inner vibrations. It's like music hits us in a way. Painting and visuals have a similar effect, but can actually be used more directly in a sort of activist way, I suppose. There have always been artists and writers especially as well that have yanked on the chains of the establishment and were persecuted and didn't get much recognition. But this is part of the process that I feel we're all involved in the sense of, if I'll do this a little longer. I enjoy thinking about this, like the idea of okay, so you have existence as a primary. This is a concept that is on whatever level you want to approach this at, whether it's through some sort of high-minded esotericism or very basic survival level of understanding. Existence is something that we experience. Existence, experience go together. And life is a part of existence. And existence isn't limited to life. Existence, as I say, involves eternity. Eternity is in some form or other something we don't really understand, but we do have an inkling of. We have some sort of a connection to these ephemeral aspects of our existence, such as, like I said, music has an incredible effect on me. When I listen to it, it is inspiring. It causes me to even want to wake up in a certain way. I'm not a musician, and musicians, they must feel like me. I, as a painter, I get excited about making a painting. I really want to wake up in the morning and get to the studio. So this sort of thing directly influences me. But I'm thinking on a larger scale of a person who's involved, not directly in an art activity or a creative activity in terms of an art process. There is this kind of sense of an ephemeral reality surrounding us, which suggests to me, I will say, this is related to eternity. It has nothing to do with religious concepts of heaven and hell and karma or any of that shit. Okay, I say shit only because it has been so dogmatized. It has given us more problems than solutions when we create a dogma around this ephemeral feeling, what I like to call the mystery. The mystery. I reiterate this often because I believe this to be a solution toward a resolution of the circumstances we find ourselves in, the times we live in right now. The times are extremely difficult. Maybe not to us if you live in a suburb somewhere and you have to be hunkered down and you're working out of your house and you're told, oh, it's much better to work out of your house and you don't need sunlight, you don't need any of that shit, you don't have to, you know, exercise that much anymore, whatever it is. We're being told that is totally irrational, but people are embracing this. This is really nasty. This is really bad, because whatever vestige we had of a balanced, the ability to live a balanced life is being eroded, like I said. So likewise, the idea that is within all of us about this ephemeral, this part in us that recognizes without necessary explanation the uncertainty that we live with inside a mystery. And this is something that has been of the highest priority of, as far as I can tell in terms of artists, the highest priority was to embrace this mystery and proceed toward some kind of experience that I would even exalt that mystery. And I'm not going to call it God or Buddha or Muhammad or any of these icons, because they're just representations, which is why I'm getting quite a bit of flack on my latest paintings, where I'm including images of the traditional icons recognized or interpreted to be Jesus or God, or the human ones like Mother Teresa or the Nobel laureates, and people that we look up to, that are identified as our icons that will save us in some way. Well, that is the dogma that'll sink our ship. I'm not saying that a person cannot be inspired and see the mystery within images that reflect themselves. They're not outside. When you're seeing that Jesus image that means something to you, it's not outside, it's within you. This is even something supposedly that was in scriptures. You know, the kingdom of heaven is within. And the reference to the male as the father, these are all things that are being misinterpreted. So you have a patriarchal society. Jordan Peterson he can go and fuck himself when he says, no, that is just a construct in your mind, that we're not a patriarchal society. What a numbnut. I mean, this guy has been propagated too. This is why it is so offensive. In order for us to get through this period, we have to drop all the dogma and not being honest with ourselves, and to say, well, no, this has not been a patriarchy. The only one I know is the polyandrous Hopi. I think it was the polyandrous Hopi that was not based on and there are probably some other ones that are matriarchies, but matriarchy, patriarchy doesn't matter to me. The point is that we have an opportunity to embrace that inner part within ourselves and not get caught in the world out there that is trying to impose itself at every moment, at every time, at every second, from the very time that we're born. Even the babies, within a few days of their birth, get a jab in their through their skin. It's brutal. It's horrible. Or even the idea of circumcision, a baby who has no choice in the matter, to be subjected to these abuses, this torture. It's like, I mean, really, it makes no sense to me. Any normal human I'd rather say balanced human being will say, I have to question everything. Everything that comes from out there has to be verified with inside me. And I'm willing to learn. This is the premise that I go by. So I'll wrap it up here. It's like I love reflecting on eternity and the mystery and all the things that I feel that really make us go. And this COVID shit, these lies about a dangerous virus, have so debilitated for an entire year now. For an entire year, it is escalating, and it is so abhorrent to the balanced human being. And with everyone now embracing the Star of David as the mask on their sleeve, this has progressed more than I would ever have imagined in my lifetime, ever. And the resistance that I see, the possibility of resisting all of this, the bastards that are rolling this out, it's not them that's the problem. It's everyone going along with it. That is the problem. And I'm not the only one saying it. It's the compliance and the conformity that'll sink our ship. All the best to you.